And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I am Michael DeLon. Today I'm talking with Adam Malone. Adam, thanks for being with me for a few minutes, sir.
My pleasure. Excited.
It's going to be a great conversation. So, Adam is the founder of The Tenacious Operator. And what he does is he really helps entrepreneurs develop trust within your team. And I really, when I saw that, I was really intrigued because not a lot of people talk about that, Adam, but it's really important. So, we're going to dive into this whole idea of developing trust within a team. Not only the benefits for the team, but the benefits the entrepreneur really has as well. So you've got a vast background doing lots of things. So tell
Yeah.
me, Adam, I mean, how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today?
Yeah. So I appreciate that. And first off, I appreciate being on the show with you.
You're welcome.
Really excited. So I mean it's kind of a you got to go in the Wayback Machine, right?
Okay.
So 8 years ago, about I'd been given a new role at the company I was at,
Okay.
and I was traveling all over the world. This relationship management role was about implementing a new contract with Apple. This long
Okay.
story short,
Wow.
and it was a big deal for big deal for us, medium to small size deal for Apple. They're Apple.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm sitting on an airplane headed to Cupertino to meet with the Apple team. And this is a Monday morning. Friday night, I had just gotten home from a 30-hour trip or 30 hours of travel from the Philippines, kind of had a cold. And I was just, you ever feel like you're just down? Like I just feel beat up in this
Yep.
moment. And it was in that moment, about 6 months into this role, that I just realized we, meaning Assuring and Apple, weren't delivering the value that we hoped for. And we, the team, weren't delivering what we hoped for either. And I kind of just came to the realization that we were all fighting with each other. We were at cross purposes. And it was because fundamentally between the businesses, we didn't have trust, even though we were forming this contractual relationship. We were not grounding and rooting that in trust. Instead, distrust was kind of eroding everything we did. But then also within the teams that I was leading directly and indirectly, there was not a level of trust sufficient that we could go and move fast.
Hmm.
And I realized that unless we resolve both of those, the external trust with our partner and the internal trust within our team, we were never going to get the value that we needed. And in the process, I was probably going to have a heart attack and my wife was going to kill me. And so
There you go.
as a result, we should probably do something different.
I
And,
like
and
it.
that's really what launched my really deep thinking about how can we establish trust within teams and then outside teams. My focus now is generally teams, and in a way that isn't just we all feel good and we're happy to be here, but is even more focused on the tangible aspects of performance and how does deep trust enable us to go faster and further than we could have without trust, underpinning all those relationships.
Yeah. Wow. What a story. I love the pivot you made and how you had enough insight, I guess, when you were down and contemplating murder or your wife. That
she was.
She was, yeah. Keeping her out of prison is a good thing. But understanding, that as you were just explaining that, my mind went back to some corporate jobs I've had with teams and
Yeah.
things. But it also struck me, and there may be a parallel here. I don't know, is like sports teams, baseball teams is what hit me because we're in
Yeah.
baseball season. You get a baseball team where the players trust each other to not only do their jobs, but to cover get behind me when I need the coach. When you have that high level of trust, those teams excel
Yeah.
versus 2 or 3 years before that when that's not present.
Hmm.
Totally different teams, and that's I think a
Exactly.
decent parallel. Is that fair?
Yeah, it is. And baseball is a good one. My brother played baseball. I didn't, but in college I used to play, like co-ed volleyball a little bit.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wasn't any good, but um, the one of the instinctual things in any team, but especially like a volleyball team, especially, is calling the ball. It's someone who says,
Mhm.
"Hey, this one's mine. I've got it. Either I'm backing up or I'm moving forward." But Michael, you're ahead of me. I'm telling you, I've got this. So give me some space.
Yeah.
Well, if if you don't trust me that when I say I've got the ball, that great, I'm going to let you have the ball, Adam. We're going to run into each other. Or
Yeah.
if when someone behind me hears me say I got it, and they don't say like, okay, I'm going to let him have it, but I'm actually going to move into a position that allows me to support him
Right.
if he doesn't get it. Well, that activity, I always call it, call the ball. Um, Training teams on calling the ball and how we
Yeah.
support each other when we do that is one of those activities that I think can be really helpful to really make that a little bit more tangible of I can trust you, but that doesn't mean I'm going to let you fail, right?
Right.
And
Right.
sometimes people present this idea of accountability and building a team rooted in trust as like, well, Michael said he has it, so
Yeah.
just going to let him do it.
That's
Really
right.
high functioning teams um, overlap with each other enough to provide support, but don't overlap so much that they waste resources. And that's part of the efficiency gains when you really develop a team, a trust, a fabric of trust.
Yeah, very cool. So as you work with companies, entrepreneurs who have
Yeah.
teams, uh, what happens? Do you go in there and you look and you interview and you see what's going on and you go, oh my goodness, no, or and what kind of a time frame does it take? Because I assume some teams are a lot closer to trust than other teams. And I don't. I mean, this is a fascinating topic because I don't know if I've ever
Yeah.
talked to anybody about how to develop trust within teams.
Yeah.
What's it kind of look like? And I'm sure every situation is
Yeah.
different, but
So often in my work, I found that it's leaders have actually created a weak foundation within their team for trust.
mm-hmm.
And the way that happens often, I'll just give an example. I use a tool called the trust triangle. One of those one of those sides of the triangle is about alignment. So where my words and my
Okay,
actions aligned. So an example of misalignment would be, hey, Michael, it's really important that you spend time with your family. We value family time here. But then I call you at dinner time every night, right? To use a really simple example.
yep,
Well, I have said in my words one thing, but then in my actions, I've done another. And
yeah,
that's an easy one. You can see that one. But often leaders will say things like, hey, in this environment, we really want people to feel free to call out opportunities or risks that they see. And then later, when someone does that, they perhaps aren't embraced when they bring that what is perceived as negativity.
right,
And so as a result, you do that one or two times to people, and all of a sudden everyone knows, like, Adam says he wants to hear the hard things, but every time we bring it, we all just get yelled at. So can we all just form like a truce, and we're not going to do this in the staff meeting anymore?
that's right,
Um,
yeah. Those
and,
unwritten
and
rules,
exactly. And they dictate more of what happens or doesn't happen in a culture than many leaders realize. And
yeah,
so helping leaders find that is often a bit of a journey for them. And for example, the exercises surrounding that sort of idea, I refer to as embracing negative feedback,
yeah,
um, and creating a culture where we reward creative or negative feedback that results in positive outcomes, right?
yeah,
We don't want a culture that like everyone just is down and
that's right.
everything's bad and we're just yelling and complaining about everything. But how can we build a culture that accepts and expects negative information to be brought to light so that we can then take action against it?
Yeah.
That's an example of how you think about that weak foundation.
Yeah, that's really good because really at the end of the day, information is just information. It doesn't have to be plus or minus. It has a lot to do with the people giving it, the people receiving it, and the freedom that we have to say, hey, this isn't working. Can we talk about it? And not taking it personally, right? And so many times I would only imagine how many fun conversations you get to have because you're that outside set of eyes. You're kind of that middle guy who comes in, and sometimes it's like, oh, you go, I see what's going on here, and now you
Yeah,
get to negotiate through some of that, and maybe have some hard discussions with maybe a leader or maybe somebody on the team who's has a personal vendetta, maybe some kind of an axe to grind, but they sure are polite. And that just destroys trust everywhere, right?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that what you just highlighted still shows up in that alignment category, which includes integrity.
Yeah.
Of are we all bringing authenticity to our engagements? And if Adam clearly has an axe to grind because he and Michael have been going at it for 3 or 4 years, but he kind of puts on the happy face, everyone can tell. And so who's calling that out? Who's helping Adam see, hey, you're putting on the good soldier face is actually doing more harm than you owning what's
Right.
frustrating you about your relationship, and how do we bring that to light?
Yeah.
Yes, it's super important. um, hey,
Well, and
one tip I'll
yeah,
share,
yeah.
um, that people can do to make some of those negative things okay,
Mm-hmm.
is a question I like to ask is, what would our competitors say about us?
Hmm.
Because when you do that, you give people the freedom to say, um, hey man, our competitors, I've heard when I talk to our clients, our competitors say this about us.
Hmm.
And so now I get to, it's no longer Adam bringing the negativity and saying, oh, our product sucks, or our feature set isn't great, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's me saying, no, no, like I've heard, like this is what competitors say. I don't agree with it, but that's what they say. And so you can kind of give someone a safe space to say the thing that maybe everyone knows, but they're unwilling to call out.
Right.
And now, once they do that, you as the leader can say, I think we probably all agree that that's probably not true, but,
Right.
but let's just talk about for a minute, what if that is true?
Yeah.
And so now you as the leader have taken that to the next level of, okay, we've heard the negative thing. And now I'm going to encourage the team to think about and embrace that. And we still don't have to like acknowledge that we have a problem. So we get to delay the pain of acknowledgement, embrace the conversation, but keep moving it forward. And after you do that activity a couple times, people get much, much better at it. And eventually you don't have to say, well, what would our competitors say about us?
Right.
Like that's what you want. You don't want to have to use that prompt.
Right.
Um, but you got to train the people that they're not going to get in trouble when they say, you know, our big bad competitor says this about us.
Right.
Um, but so you have to teach them, you have to show them that you're going to accept that sort of
That's right.
engagement.
Yeah. So talk about the transition or the transformation you've seen in some of your clients as you've worked with them who've come to you with I won't say dysfunctional teams, but teams that aren't working well together because of a lack of
Mhm.
trust. And then you've worked with them, developed trust, help them understand what it is and how to do it. And now on the other side, wow, we're what more productive, more happy. What happens when a
Yeah.
team?
Yeah. I think it's totally okay to say dysfunctional.
Okay.
And by the way, I would say every team has some level of dysfunction. It's just about how problematic that dysfunction is,
Yeah.
right? We all
Agree.
deal with it. All families are a little dysfunctional. It's just, is our dysfunction a problem or is it okay?
Right.
Especially from the outside looking in.
Yeah, exactly.
So I worked with a team last year, and they had what I'll call this really bad habit of the power I formation,
Mm-hmm.
meaning every time they needed to work through something, you'd see the situation where the director, the senior director, the VP, the senior manager, you've got three, four, five levels of people in the same stream of command going to a conversation. And that's just a massive waste of resources.
Yeah.
And there are times when that's okay, but let's just say most of the time it's not necessary. Maybe you need two levels.
Yeah.
And so what we worked through with them was peeling back, hey, why are you doing that? What's the behavior that leads to this? And and so what we found was a couple things. One of them was one of the leaders in the group, if he didn't, he had this default where he kind of assumed that everyone hadn't thought through all the issues yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wanted the team just got to like, just invite Dan,
Right.
because he always wants to know, did we think through every last thing? And we can like go through that every meeting, or we can just have him come to the working meeting. And so
Right.
now you've got VP Dan in the working meeting with senior managers and directors or whatever.
Yeah.
You've got another leader who showed up because he gets invited because the team has been yelled at before, because they made a decision that he didn't approve of.
Yeah.
Not that it was the wrong decision, but he didn't make the decision. And
Mm-hmm.
so he was unhappy. They felt like they were yelled at, and like, well, we never want that to happen again. So we're going to invite Jim, right? And you just kind of go through, and all of a sudden you end up with like, okay, for every decision we need to make, we have all these people, and it's varying levels of distrust that has led to this place. So we created a couple processes to help embed the trust that they needed. And so,
Hmm.
for example, that leader who struggles with, did you guys think through every scenario? What we did is they put in process two things. One was before the team went and handled a new issue, the leader of that team that reported to him went and had a conversation in their one-on-one that said, hey, we're going to go work through this problem. Here's two things we know we need to pay attention to. Do you have any other questions that you know you want answered?
Wow.
Are there any other concerns that you know, hey, as soon as we bring this to you in a presentation, the first thing you're going to say is, oh man, well, I was worried about X.
Hmm.
Great. So by doing that in the trust triangle, empathy is that one of the sides we haven't talked about. What
Hmm.
you've done is you've shown empathy to the leader. They have thoughts, they have concerns, they want to be involved and included. And so now you're getting their input and feedback ahead of time. So now when it comes time to present to them, you have a really easy time of like, hey, when we caught up with you, you mentioned these three things. We looked at those. We'll get to those in a minute. By the way, here are three more issues or scenarios we added. Great.
Hmm.
So now that leader feels seen and heard. He doesn't have to take the group astray. And he was more experienced than them. Like he really did have issues they needed to look at. So the feedback was actually helpful in getting them to an answer faster because
Hmm.
they actually got his feedback earlier in the process.
Right. Absolutely. That's so
Um,
cool.
and and so it's those sorts of dynamics and things that I look for with teams of how can we sometimes embed real processes that are meant to shore up different aspects of trust. Do we have empathy? Do we see and feel the pain of our people? Do we have alignment between words and actions? And do we have the performance capability to actually deliver what's being asked? And if we can approach all of our projects and issues with that trust triangle in mind, it really can help us identify where we're going to have failings and where we need to shore up our process to prevent those in the future and make it where we can go faster.
Yeah, I think it's great because one of the things you bring to the table, Adam, is an outside perspective and lots of years of experience to be able to just work with an organization like that and go, okay, how about we try this? And here's a new system for you when you do meetings. And it's just really challenging for a business owner or a team to do that themselves because they are just in it all day long and
Yeah,
they either don't take the time to think or they haven't had the experience or they're you have an outside unencumbered perspective to go, I can see what's going on here, how about we think about this? And I think that is one of those aha moments that when people work with you to go, wow, we should have hired him like 5 years ago. But we just don't think
ideally.
about it, right?
Right. Well, and I think we often, one, we overemphasize skill in most of our discussions.
Mm,
Do we have the competence within our organization to achieve something? And another place I help some of my clients is with initiative launches. What
mm-hmm.
if you go talk to technologists, for example, what you'll find is most initiatives don't fail because the technology is a problem.
Yeah.
Most initiatives fail because the people who are going to use the system aren't bought in for some reason or multiple reasons.
Yeah.
And so you get the solution built and launched, and Sally in accounting still keeps her ledger off the side of her desk because 10 years ago some technology failed and she lost a bunch of stuff, and she just ever since then she's always kept this. The technology team's frustrated with Sally because she's not using their tool. And Sally's frustrated with them because they never came and made her feel comfortable and help
Right.
her issues feel seen, and that they were going to be taken care of. And so there are like two ships passing in the night, where
Yeah.
if we can help them get together, all of a sudden they can signal multiple aspects of why you should trust our system.
Yeah.
And they can also get really valuable feedback from users, for example, about, hey, what's going to keep you from using this?
Right.
Well, XYZ.
Yeah.
You can be pissed if you want, but most of the time, those conversations don't happen in a way. And one side or the other says, well, I'm not going to do X. You have to use it this way.
Yeah.
Um, and then, $1 million project gets implemented and it's not actually generating the value you want.
Dude, yeah. You're reading my mail. That was way back when in the last ministry I was at. Yeah, they instituted a new donor system, company
Like a
ministry
CRM.
wide, and it was rolled out as the world's best amazing thing, and it had more bugs and back doors, and it's like and it just imploded, and just I mean, it brought the ministry to almost a halt because we had meeting after meeting with 18 people talking about, and it's like, this is stupid. And here's what happened after about the third meeting: 17 people started bringing their laptops to check mail
Mm,
and do other work while two or three people were gabbing. It's like, I'm checking out because no trust. No, and it's just a ministry. So business
yeah,
owners need to understand that all of this stuff that we're talking about is happening in your organization. If you got like more than three
for
people,
sure.
this is
Yes.
happening and it's
Yeah.
slowing the cogs, and it's frustrating to you because you're not getting the profits you could be getting. But even more than that, you don't have a team that's vibrant and that's excited to be together and come alongside and say, let's go win that world championship. That's not happening.
Yeah.
And Adam can help with that, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I'm sure lots of people do. And you can basically throw a rock and hit someone that's going to say you need to work on your business and not in your business, and they're
Yeah.
going to, sure, that's right, that's true. But what I find is most people take that and they move towards, I need to tell people what to do more, as opposed to realizing really well run teams and systems are self-identifying and self-healing related
Mhm.
to issues. And it's not that the leader needs to dictate more or say, just go take care of this. They actually need to think about building a system that is what I call self-healing and self-identifying of potential issues and problems. And because of that, everyone can move really fast and you get to sit at this level that's a bit above.
Right.
But until you develop the team to a point where they understand the bounds of their empowerment, for example, they understand what's really important to you as a leader and triggering, where do you want to be included no matter what?
Right.
For example, that one often waylays founders because they've been involved since the very beginning. And so,
Yeah.
like it or not, they hold certain things precious.
Yeah.
And anytime that thing comes up, they kind of throw their elbows and get involved. And instead of figuring out how to manage and mitigate that, the team just now invites the founder to everything about that issue.
Yeah.
And so you've got a founder whose business has grown to a point where that shouldn't be necessary, but they haven't been honest enough with themselves about, where do I need the team to include me? Because
Yep.
I'm going to get my knickers in a twist if they don't.
Yeah.
And where can they not? And just going through that exercise of, guys, hey, every time this issue comes up, I know it's annoying, but I want you to involve me because I have some emotional attachment to this problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes just owning that
It's
sort of
okay.
language will shift the conversation dramatically.
100%. 100%. Well, buddy, man, and you and I can talk. I think we could go for another 30 or 40 minutes because there are so many thoughts and ideas. And I've seen so much in organizations, but I think a lot of business owners are, um, dare I say, they're blind to this because we're out doing, trying to generate revenue, working with the sales team and stuff. And we forget that down below is a group of people who need to learn how to develop trust amongst each other, but then between the levels of management. And a lot of times that's where the distrust happens, and you can
Yeah,
help mitigate that and help all of them learn to develop trust within that organization. So, and I mean, where does somebody who's out there listening going, that's me. Yep. I keep sticking my head in the sand because I don't know what to do and I don't want to deal with it. So I'm gonna work on my business this week. How do they get a hold of you? What's the
yeah,
first step they would take to say, tell me more?
yeah. LinkedIn's the fastest place. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. I post content every day. and I'm super active there. So that's by far the fastest.
Okay.
Um, Also, they can just go to the tenaciousoperator.com. I have a newsletter I send out, and I do some blogs on there that talk about leadership and that sort of thing. But that's the fastest way, those two things, to get in touch with me. And I'm happy to sit down with folks and talk about whatever, and just understand where they are in their org. We'll figure out if we need to do business together later. But I love to talk to people about their teams and
Yeah.
help them figure out, ways they can drive improvement. So I would love to get in contact with some of the listeners, just to have some problems to talk about, and to think through. And that's what I think of as fun. Maybe not
Awesome.
everyone does.
That's right. That's awesome. Well, reach out to Adam. He'll help you develop trust within your team. Have some conversations. Check him out on LinkedIn. I'm going to grab LinkedIn, your website and stuff. I'm going to have those in the show notes for people.
Great.
And go back and re-listen to this, because there was a lot that we talked about that I think as you listen to it, you're going to say, either I know that this is happening, or I wonder if that's happening. And you are as a business owner, you're probably uniquely unqualified to be able to see and fix what's going on there. But Adam is uniquely qualified to help guide you and direct your team. So reach out to him. Adam, man, thanks for being on my podcast. You're a great guest, a lot of expertise, and thanks for doing what you do to help teams and build trust.
My pleasure.